The medical bay on Kepler 7 station was quiet, except for the soft hum of life support machines. The air smelled of antiseptic and something else, something alien that made the human staff uncomfortable. In the center of the room lay a creature. That looked like a cross between a spider and a warrior from ancient Earth stories. Zixthara was her name, though the human doctors had trouble saying it right. She was a Velgaran, one of the most feared warrior races in the galaxy. Her body was covered in hard plates that looked like black armor, but these plates were part of her skin. 4 eyes sat on her head, each one the size of a human fist. Her arms were long and thin, ending in hands that had too many fingers. Right now, those 4 eyes were filled with something the human doctors had never seen in a Velgaran before. Fear. Dr. Cale Norris walked into the room first. He was a tall man with gray hair and kind eyes. He had studied alien life forms for 20 years, but he had never seen a Velgaran warrior look so broken. Behind him came Commander Lisa Park, a woman in her 40s who wore the blue uniform of the Terran Defense Corps. Her face was hard but fair, the kind of face that had seen many battles. Zixthara turned her 4 eyes toward them as they entered. Her translator, a small device attached to her throat, crackled to life. "Humans," she said, and her voice shook. "You have come to hear my words." Dr. Norris pulled up a chair and sat down slowly. He wanted to show the alien that he was not a threat. "Yes, we would like to hear what happened at the Outer Rim colonies. We want to understand what went wrong." The alien warrior made a sound that might have been laughter, but it was bitter and sad. "Wrong? You think something went wrong?" "No, human. Everything went exactly as your kind planned it." Commander Park stepped forward. "We don't understand. Our reports say your people attacked our colonies without warning. We were defending ourselves." Zixthara's 4 eyes focused on the commander, and for a moment, the human woman felt like prey being watched by a predator. Then the feeling passed, and she saw only a broken creature who had lost everything. "Defending," Zixthara repeated. "Yes, that is what you call it. But we know better now. We know what you really are." Dr. Norris leaned forward. "What do you mean?" "What do you think we are?" The alien was quiet for a long time. The machines around her beeped softly, counting her heartbeats. Finally, she began to speak. "My people have ruled the stars for 1,000 years. We have conquered 17 different races. Some fought back, some surrendered quickly, but all of them fell to our might. We are the Velgaran Empire, and we are fear itself." Her voice grew stronger as she spoke of her people's power, but then it became weak again. "When we first learned of humans, we laughed. Our scouts brought back reports of a young race that had barely learned to travel between stars. Your governments fought each other instead of working together. Your technology was simple and weak. You seemed perfect for our newest conquest." Commander Park's jaw tightened. "You saw us as easy prey." "Yes," Zixthara said without shame. "We had done this before. We knew how it would go. We would arrive with our great ships, demonstrate our power, and you would surrender. Some of your people would fight, but not many. Most would accept their new masters rather than die." Dr. Norris made notes on his tablet. "But that's not what happened. No." The word came out like a whisper. "That is not what happened at all." Zixthara's 4 eyes stared at the ceiling. "I was part of the advance force. We were young warriors, eager to prove ourselves in what we thought would be an easy victory. War Commander Thekvar led us. He was a hero among our people, a warrior who had never known defeat. The aliens' breathing became faster. We chose the colony you call New Denver for our first strike. Our intelligence said it was a farming world, with few defenses, perfect for a demonstration of Velgaran power." "What happened when you arrived?" Commander Park asked. "We sent the usual message. surrender or face destruction. We expected fear. We expected your leaders to beg for mercy. Instead, we received a transmission from a female human named Amanda Cross. Dr. Norris looked up from his notes. What did she say? Zixthara's translator was quiet for a moment, as if she was remembering the exact words. She said, "Message. Received and understood. Our answer is no. Come and take it if you can." The alien warrior's body shuddered. We thought she was brave but foolish. We had seen this before. Some species produce a few individuals who choose death over surrender. But they are always few, and they do not inspire others to follow them. But humans are different, Commander Park said. It was not a question. Humans are different, Zixthara agreed. We began our attack, expecting to face scattered resistance. Instead, we found something we had never encountered before. She paused, and her 4 eyes seemed to focus on something far away. The humans began to evacuate their people, but they did not flee in panic. They moved with purpose and planning. At the same time, their fighters launched to meet us. How many fighters? Dr. Norris asked. 37 human ships against our fleet of over 200. We expected them to hit us once, and then retreat. Instead, they came straight at us, moving in patterns that our tactical computers could not predict. Zixthara's voice became stronger, as if she was reliving the battle. One of their pilots, a male named Jake Morrison, had his ship damaged by our weapons. Instead of retreating or surrendering, he turned his ship toward our cruiser Morningstar and accelerated. He rammed your ship? Commander Park asked. He rammed our ship. Our scanners showed his escape pod was functional. He could have ejected to safety. Instead, he chose to die to damage us. The Morningstar was crippled, and 63 of our warriors died with him. Dr. Norris frowned. That's a terrible loss of life, but surely one act of sacrifice wouldn't change a battle. You still do not understand, Zixthara said, and her 4 eyes fixed on him. What happened next was what truly frightened us. We expected the other, human pilots, to be demoralized by seeing their comrade die. Instead, they became more dangerous. The alien warrior's translator crackled as she searched for the right words. We intercepted their communications. They were speaking Morrison's name. They were using his death as a reason to fight harder, not a reason to surrender. Humans honor their dead by fighting for them, Commander Park said quietly. Honor? Zixthara repeated. Yes, that is one word for it. But there is something else. Something that chills me even now. She was quiet for a moment, then continued. While the space battle raged, Amanda Cross was not just evacuating civilians. She was destroying everything of value on the planet. Factories, power plants, farms. Everything. She was making sure that even if we won, we would gain nothing. Dr. Norris looked confused. That's standard military doctrine. Deny resources to the enemy. No, human, you still do not see. Other races destroy military targets when they retreat. They save what they can for later recovery. But this human female was destroying everything, including things that could never be rebuilt. She was making her own world useless rather than let us have it. Zixthara's 4 eyes closed. Our warriors began to report strange feelings. Unease, doubt. These were sensations we had never felt in battle before. We were the predators. We were the ones who brought fear. But your people were not afraid of us. They were afraid, Commander. Park said. They had to be. No, the alien's voice was firm. They were not afraid of us. They were afraid of failing each other. They were afraid of letting their people down. But they were not afraid of death, and they were not afraid of us. The room fell silent. Dr. Norris could hear his own heartbeat in his ears. Finally, Zixthara spoke again. That was when we began to understand that we were not fighting a normal war. We were fighting something that we had never encountered before in all our conquests. We were fighting a species that chose to die rather than live under our rule. She opened her 4 eyes and looked directly at the 2 humans. And that was only the beginning. Commander Park moved her chair closer to the alien's bed. Tell us more about what happened at New Denver. What made your people realize this was different? Zixthara's 4 eyes moved to look at her, then back to the ceiling. The alien warriors. Breathing was uneven, as if remembering the events caused her physical pain. The battle should have been over quickly. We had superior numbers and technology. But your people did not fight like any enemy we had faced before. Dr. Norris sat down. His tablet. How do you mean? Other races we conquered followed predictable patterns. They would engage us, take losses, and retreat to regroup. Or they would fight defensively, trying to minimize their casualties while inflicting maximum damage on us. But humans did neither. The alien's translator made small clicking sounds as she paused. Your fighters kept coming at us directly, accepting losses that should have broken any military force. But instead of weakening them, each loss seemed to make the survivors more determined. Humans don't give up easily, Commander Park said. No, you do not understand. This was beyond determination. This was something else entirely. Zixthara's voice grew stronger. After Morrison destroyed the Morning Star, we expected the remaining human fighters to retreat. Instead, they regrouped and attacked again. Dr. Norris leaned forward. What was different about their second attack? They had learned from the first engagement. They analyzed our tactics, our weapons patterns, our ship formations. In the span of minutes, they had adapted their strategy to counter our advantages. The alien warrior's 4 eyes focused on the doctor. No other species had ever done this during active combat. That's what humans do, Commander Park said quietly. We adapt. Adapt. Zixthara repeated the word slowly. Yes, that is what you call it. But it was more than adaptation. It was evolution happening in real time. The alien warrior shifted on her bed, and the human doctors could see old scars across her armored skin. The second wave of human fighters was led by a pilot named Kevin Turner. His ship was smaller than ours, weaker, but he moved it like it was part of his own body. Turner was one of our best, Commander Park said. What happened to him? He targeted our command ship directly, not to destroy it, but to disable our communications array. He knew that if he could cut off our coordination, our numerical advantage would mean nothing. Zixthara's voice became quieter. Turner's ship was hit by our defensive fire. His engines were damaged. His life support was failing. Any rational pilot would have retreated for repairs. Instead, he used his damaged ship as a weapon. He rammed. Another ship? Dr. Norris asked. No, he did something worse. The alien's 4 eyes closed. He positioned his dying ship between our command vessel and our fighter squadrons. Then he overloaded his reactor. Commander Park felt her stomach tighten. He turned his ship into a bomb. The explosion destroyed Turner's ship and damaged 3 of our fighters. But that was not the worst part. The worst part was what happened next. The room was silent, except for the beeping of medical equipment. Zixthara continued. We intercepted communications from the remaining human fighters. They were not mourning Turner's death. They were celebrating it. Celebrating? Dr. Norris looked confused. They called it a perfect sacrifice. They said he had given them the opening they needed, and they were right. The alien warrior's voice cracked. With our communications disrupted, Turner's sacrifice allowed the other human fighters to coordinate an attack that should have been impossible. What kind of attack? Commander Park asked. They divided into 3 groups. One group engaged our fighters directly, keeping them busy. The second group attacked our support ships, the vessels carrying our supplies and repair equipment. The third group went after our troop transports. Zixthara's breathing became faster. This was not random. This was a coordinated strategy designed to cripple our entire operation. They were not just trying to win the battle. They were trying to make sure we could not continue the war. Smart tactics, Commander Park observed. Too smart. Their coordination was perfect, as if they had trained together for years. But according to our intelligence, many of these pilots had never flown together before. They were from different colonies, different military units. Some were even civilians. Dr. Norris made notes on his tablet. How did they coordinate so well? That is what frightened us most. We monitored their communications throughout the battle. They were not receiving orders from a central command. Each pilot was making independent decisions, but somehow all their decisions worked together perfectly. The alien paused, and her four eyes opened to stare at the ceiling. It was as if they shared a single mind, but each part of that mind could think and act on its own. We had never seen anything like it. What happened to the pilot who led the second group? Commander Park asked. Rachel White. She commanded 12 fighters against our supply convoy. Our convoy was protected by 36 escort ships. The mathematics said she could not win, but she did win, Dr. Norris said. It was not a question. She did more than win. She destroyed our entire supply chain in less than 20 minutes. But the way she did it, ... Zixthara's voice trailed off. Tell us, Commander Park said gently. White's fighters attacked in a pattern that seemed random at first. They would hit one ship, then retreat, then attack a different ship from a different direction. Our escorts tried to respond, but they could not predict where the next attack would come from. The alien warrior's four eyes focused on Commander Park. Then we realized what White was doing. She was not attacking randomly. She was hurting us. Hurting? Dr. Norris asked. Like animals. She was using our own responses against us. Every time we moved to defend one ship, we exposed another. Every time we tried to regroup, she would attack the formation we were trying to form. Zixthara's voice grew stronger as she continued. White was not just destroying our ships. She was studying us, learning how we thought, how we reacted. And she was teaching her pilots to think the same way. What happened to her? Commander Park asked. Her ship was damaged in the final assault. She could have retreated with her surviving pilots. Instead, she ordered them to continue the attack while she stayed behind to cover their escape. She sacrificed herself, Dr. Norris said, ... no human. That is what we thought at first. But we were wrong. White did not sacrifice herself. She transformed herself into a weapon more dangerous than any ship. The alien warrior's four eyes closed again. White's damaged ship limped toward our largest supply vessel. We thought she was going to ram it, like Morrison had done. Instead, she did something that our tactical computers said was impossible. What did she do? Commander Park asked. She synchronized her ship's shields with the frequency of our supply ship's reactor. Then she used her damaged engines to create a resonance cascade that tore our ship apart from the inside. Dr. Norris looked up from his notes. That would require incredible technical knowledge and perfect timing. It would require a pilot willing to die to perfect that timing. White stayed in the cascade field until the last possible moment, ensuring maximum damage to our vessel. By the time she finally ejected, her ship was gone, and our entire supply fleet was crippled. Did she survive? Commander Park asked. She did, but that was not the end of her story. White was captured by our boarding parties when they recovered her escape pod. We thought we had finally taken a valuable prisoner. Zixthara's voice became a whisper. We were wrong about that too. White had not been captured. She had positioned herself to be captured, and once she was aboard our ship, she began the most terrifying part of the battle. "What do you mean?" Dr. Norris asked. "White began to sabotage our ship from the inside, but she did not just destroy systems randomly. She studied our technology, learned how it worked, and then used that knowledge to turn our own weapons against us." The alien warrior's 4 eyes opened wide. In the span of 2 hours, White had learned enough about our systems to cripple a ship that represented centuries of Velgaran engineering. She turned our own shields against us, used our own weapons to destroy our own equipment. How did she escape? Commander Park asked. She did not escape. She was rescued. The third group of human fighters, led by a pilot named Carl Johnson, had been monitoring our communications. They knew White had been captured, and they knew she was sabotaging our ship from within. Zixthara's breathing became rapid. Johnson's fighters coordinated with White's sabotage efforts. Every time she disabled one of our systems, Johnson's pilots would attack that exact weakness. It was as if they could read each other's minds across the vacuum of space. "Did they succeed?" Dr. Norris asked. "They did more than succeed. They turned our own ship into a weapon against the rest of our fleet." When White finally disabled our main computer, Johnson's fighters guided our ship into a collision course with our command vessel. The alien warrior's voice broke. "We lost both ships and over 400 warriors. But that was not the worst part. The worst part was what we learned from the communication intercepts." "What did you learn?" Commander Park asked. The entire battle had been a test. White, Turner, Morrison, all of them had been testing our capabilities, learning our weaknesses, preparing for a larger conflict. What we thought was a desperate defense was actually a carefully planned intelligence operation. Dr. Norris refilled his water glass and sat back down. The alien warrior had been talking for over an hour, but her story was far from over. Commander Park checked her tablet for the time, then looked back at Zixthara. "You said the humans had been preparing for something bigger. What did you mean?" The alien's 4 eyes moved to focus on the commander. "After our defeat at New Denver, the High Command called for a strategic review. We thought we had simply underestimated one colony's defenses. We believed the next engagement would be different." "But it wasn't," Dr. Norris said. "No, human. It was much worse." Zixthara's voice grew weaker. 3 days after New Denver, we received reports from across the sector. Human ships were appearing everywhere, attacking our supply lines, our communication relays, our forward bases. Commander Park leaned forward. "How many ships?" That was the problem. We could not count them. Our sensors would detect a human ship in one system. Then the same ship would appear in another system hours later. According to our calculations, this was impossible. "Jump drives had limitations," Dr. Norris observed. "Exactly. The energy requirements, the cooling periods, the navigation calculations. All of these should have prevented rapid movement between distant systems. But your ships were ignoring these limitations." Zixthara shifted on her medical bed. "We captured one of your navigation computers during a raid. Our scientists studied it for days. The jump calculations your pilots were using should have been suicide missions." "What do you mean?" Commander Park asked. "Your pilots were making jumps through gravitational fields that our computers said would tear apart any ship. They were using stellar phenomena as shortcuts, riding solar winds and magnetic fields to reduce jump times. Things that should have killed them." The alien warrior's breathing became faster. But they were not just surviving these impossible jumps. They were using them as weapons. "How can a jump be a weapon?" Dr. Norris asked. "Captain Roy Bennett of your ship Defiant Storm showed us how. His ship appeared in the Kepler 9 system, where we had established a forward command post. Our sensors detected him at the edge of the system, moving toward our base. Zixthara's 4 eyes closed as she remembered. Bennett's ship was outnumbered, 50-1. We sent a squadron to intercept him, expecting an easy victory. Instead, Bennett did something that still haunts our tactical experts. "What did he do?" Commander Park asked. "He jumped his ship directly into the middle of our formation. Not near it, not around it, into it." Bennett materialized his ship inside the space occupied by one of our destroyers. Dr. Norris looked confused. "That's impossible. 2 objects can't occupy the same space." That is what our physics said too. But Bennett had calculated his jump to arrive at the exact moment our destroyer was rotating to track his previous position. His ship appeared in the space the destroyer had just vacated, and his weapons were already firing. The alien's voice grew stronger as she continued. "Bennett destroyed 3 ships in the first 30 seconds of the engagement. But that was not the worst part. The worst part was what happened when our remaining ships tried to surround him. They couldn't predict where he would jump next," Commander Park said. "Worse, Bennett was not jumping randomly. He was using our own movements to calculate his jumps. Every time we moved to intercept him, he would appear behind us. Every time we tried to spread out, he would appear in the gaps between our ships." Zixthara's 4 eyes opened. Bennett was not just fighting us. He was teaching us that all our tactical assumptions were wrong. Space combat did not have to follow the rules we had used for centuries. "How long did the battle last?" Dr. Norris asked. 17 minutes. In 17 minutes, Bennett's single ship destroyed or disabled 23 Velgaran vessels. The survivors retreated in complete disorder. "What happened to Bennett?" Commander Park asked. "He sent a message to our command post before he left. He said he hoped we had learned something useful from the engagement. Then he thanked us for our cooperation and jumped away." The room was quiet for a moment. Then Dr. Norris spoke. "Thanked you for your cooperation?" "Yes, that was when we began to understand. Bennett had not been trying to destroy our base. He had been demonstrating human capabilities. He wanted us to report back to our superiors about what we had seen." Commander Park felt a chill run down her spine. "He wanted you to be afraid. No, human. Fear would have been preferable. Bennett wanted us to understand that everything we thought we knew about warfare was obsolete. He wanted us to know that humans could appear anywhere, anytime, and there was nothing we could do to stop them." Zixthara's voice became quieter. But Bennett's demonstration was only the beginning. Within hours of his attack, we received reports of similar engagements across 12 different systems. 12 systems? Dr. Norris asked. "How many ships do humans have?" That was what we asked ourselves. Our intelligence suggested your people had perhaps 200 capable warships. But we were tracking attacks by human vessels in dozens of systems simultaneously. The alien warriors' breathing became uneven. Then we realized the truth. You were not using different ships for each attack. You were using the same ships, moving them faster than we thought possible. The same crews, fighting multiple battles in the same day, Commander Park said. Lieutenant Colonel Amy Foster commanded a ship called Thunder Bay. Our records show her ship participating in engagements in 7 different systems within a 24-hour period. Zixthara's 4 eyes focused on the ceiling. Foster's tactics were different from Bennett's. Where Bennett used speed and surprise, Foster used something that terrified our warriors even more. "What was that?" Dr. Norris asked. "She used our own psychology against us. Foster would attack our ships, but she would not try to destroy them immediately. Instead, she would disable specific systems, forcing our crews to make choices." "What kind of choices?" Commander Park asked. "Foster would target our life support systems first. Not to kill our crews, but to put them under pressure. Then she would attack our engines, trapping us in place. Finally, she would target our weapons, leaving us defenseless. The alien's voice grew stronger. But here is what made Foster's attacks so terrifying. At any point during this process, she could have destroyed our ships completely. Instead, she would offer our crews a choice. Surrender or die? Dr. Norris asked. No, that we would have understood. Foster offered our crews the chance to abandon ship and be rescued. She would broadcast her offer on open channels, making sure our warriors heard it. Zix Thara's 4 eyes closed. Some of our crews accepted her offer. They abandoned their ships, and were indeed rescued by human vessels. But others chose to fight to the death, as Velgaran demanded. What happened to the ones who surrendered? Commander Park asked. They were treated well, fed, given medical care, allowed to send messages to their families. Then they were returned to us through prisoner exchanges. That sounds reasonable, Dr. Norris observed. It was reasonable. That was the problem. The warriors who were captured by Foster returned to us with stories of human kindness and honor. They spoke of being treated better by their enemies than they had been by their own commanders. The alien warrior's voice became a whisper. This created doubt among our forces. If humans were honorable enemies who offered mercy, why were we fighting them? If they treated prisoners well, why should we fight to the death? Foster was breaking your military morale, Commander Park said. More than that. Foster was showing our warriors that there was another way to live. A way where enemies could become friends, where defeat did not mean death or dishonor. Zix Thara opened her 4 eyes. But the most terrifying thing about Foster's campaign was how it coordinated with other human operations. Every time she captured one of our ships, the information from that ship would appear in human hands within hours. Intelligence sharing, Dr. Norris said. Beyond intelligence sharing. Foster would capture a ship in one system, and within the same day, human forces in completely different systems would be using the information she had gathered. The alien's breathing became rapid. Your people had created a network of communication and coordination that spanned the entire sector. Every human ship was connected to every other human ship in real time. How is that possible? Commander Park asked. We never found out. Our scientists captured human communication equipment, but they could not understand how it worked. The technology was beyond anything we had seen. Zix Thara's voice cracked, but the technology was not the worst part. The worst part was how your people used it. Every human ship was not just a weapon. It was also a sensor, a communication relay, a command center, a network instead of individual ships, Dr. Norris said. Yes, and that network was learning from every engagement, every capture, every surrender. The humans were not just fighting us. They were studying us, cataloging our weaknesses, preparing for something bigger. The alien warrior looked directly at Commander Park. Admiral Charles Grant was coordinating the entire operation. We intercepted some of his communications with human command. What did Grant say? Commander Park asked. He spoke of acceptable casualty rates. He calculated how many human lives could be lost while still achieving strategic objectives. But these were not the calculations of a desperate commander trying to survive. The medical bay had grown colder as the day went on. Commander Park pulled her jacket tighter around her shoulders and looked at Zix Thara. The alien warrior had been speaking for hours, but her story was growing darker with each word. Tell us about the retreat, Dr. Norris said gently. What happened when your people tried to leave human space? Zix Thara's 4 eyes moved to look at him, and the fear in them was deeper than before. We thought retreat would be simple. We had done it before with other species. When a conquest became too costly, we would withdraw and find easier targets. But the humans didn't let you retreat, Commander Park said. That is what we expected. We thought your people would chase us, try to destroy our fleeing ships. We prepared for running battles, fighting retreats, the normal patterns of warfare. The alien warrior's voice grew weaker. Instead, something impossible happened. The humans were waiting for us. Waiting where? Dr. Norris asked. Everywhere. Every jump point, every supply depot, every staging area we had used during our advance. Human ships were already there when we arrived. Commander Park felt her stomach tighten. How could they know your retreat routes? We asked ourselves the same question. Our retreat plans were classified at the highest levels. Only the War Council knew the complete strategy. But somehow, your people knew exactly where we would go. Zixthara's breathing became irregular. Commander Helen Wade was leading the human. Forces at Junction Point 7. This was supposed to be our primary evacuation route, far from any human territory. How many ships did Wade have? Dr. Norris asked. 12 human vessels against our evacuation fleet of over 300 ships. We thought it would be a brief engagement. Wade's forces would attack, we would fight them off, and continue our retreat. The alien's 4 eyes closed. Wade did not attack our fleet. Instead, she sent us a message. What did she say? Commander Park asked. She told us to prepare for inspection. She said human forces would be boarding our ships to verify that we were not carrying stolen technology or captured human personnel. Dr. Norris looked confused. Inspection? You were a retreating military force. That is what we told her. We reminded Wade that we were leaving human space voluntarily. We pointed out that her forces were vastly outnumbered. We demanded safe passage according to galactic law. Zixthara's voice cracked. Wade's response was simple. She said galactic law did not apply to war criminals. She said our forces had committed acts of aggression against human civilians, and we would be held accountable. War criminals? Commander Park repeated. Yes, Wade accused us of violating interstellar treaties by attacking civilian targets. She said every Velgaran ship would be searched, every crew member questioned, every piece of equipment examined. The alien warrior opened her 4 eyes. We refused, of course. We told Wade that we were leaving, and she could not stop us. We began to move our fleet toward the jump point. What happened then? Dr. Norris asked. Wade's 12 ships moved to intercept us, but they did not attack. Instead, they began broadcasting on every communication frequency in the system. Broadcasting what? Commander Park asked. Evidence. Recordings of our attacks on human colonies. Video footage of our ships destroying civilian installations. Audio intercepts of our commanders planning strikes against non-military targets. Zixthara's breathing became rapid. The broadcasts were being sent not just to our fleet, but to every listening post, every neutral station, every diplomatic mission in the sector. They were exposing your war crimes publicly, Dr. Norris said. More than that, Wade was building a legal case against us in real time. She was documenting everything, creating evidence that could be used in galactic courts. The alien's voice grew stronger. But that was not the worst part. The worst part was what the broadcasts did to our own crews. What do you mean? Commander Park asked. Many of our warriors had not known about the attacks on civilian targets. They thought we were fighting a military campaign against human armed forces. But Wade's broadcasts showed them the truth. Zixthara's 4 eyes focused on the ceiling. Our crews began to question their orders. Some refused to continue serving under commanders who had targeted civilians. Others demanded explanations from their officers. Your fleet was falling apart from within, Commander Park observed. Yes, but Wade was not finished. While our crews argued among themselves, Her forces began what she called precision interdiction. What was that? Dr. Norris asked. Wade's ships targeted specific vessels in our fleet. Not randomly, not the strongest ships, but specific ones chosen for maximum. Psychological impact. The alien warrior's voice became quieter. She targeted the ship carrying War Commander Thekvar, my former leader. Wade's forces disabled his engines and communication systems, then boarded his vessel. They captured your commander? Commander, Park asked. They did more than capture him. Wade's forces had prepared a complete file on Thekvar's activities during the war. They presented evidence of his orders to attack civilian facilities, his authorization of weapons that violated galactic treaties. Zixthara's breathing became uneven. But Wade did not simply arrest Thekvar. She put him on trial right there, on his own ship with his own crew as witnesses. A trial during a battle? Dr. Norris asked. Wade broadcast the entire proceeding. She presented evidence, called witnesses, gave Thekvar the chance to defend himself. It was a proper legal proceeding, according to human law. The alien's 4 eyes closed. Thekvar was found guilty of war crimes. Wade's sentence was exile from Velgaran space. She stripped him of his rank and authority, then released him to our fleet in disgrace. That must have had a devastating effect on morale, Commander Park said. It destroyed our chain of command. If Thekvar could be tried and convicted, what about other commanders? How many of our leaders were also war criminals? Zixthara's voice became a whisper. Wade repeated this process with 6 more command ships. Each time she would present evidence, conduct a trial, and pass judgment. Some commanders were found guilty, others were cleared of charges. The ones who were cleared, Dr. Norris said, what happened to them? They were released with honor. Wade made it clear that she distinguished between those who followed orders and those who gave illegal orders. She was not condemning all Velgaran warriors, only those who had committed crimes. The alien warrior opened her 4 eyes. This created chaos in our ranks. Warriors began choosing sides, supporting commanders who had been cleared while refusing to serve under those who had been convicted. Your fleet was tearing itself apart, Commander Park said, double quotes, yes, but Wade was still not finished. While our internal conflicts raged, her forces began what she called educational interventions. What were those? Dr. Norris asked. Human teams would board our ships and show our crews evidence of human civilian casualties. But they did not just show numbers or statistics. They showed personal stories. Zixthara's breathing became rapid. Wade's people had prepared detailed files on every human civilian who had been killed or injured in our attacks. They showed our warriors the faces of the dead, told us their names, described their families. Psychological warfare, Commander. Park said, beyond warfare. Wade was forcing our warriors to see the human cost of our actions. She was making us understand that the people we had killed were not just statistics. They were individuals with lives and hopes and families. The aliens. Voice cracked. Many of our warriors broke down completely. They had been trained to see enemies as abstractions, but Wade was showing them the reality of what they had done. How did your people respond? Dr. Norris asked. Some warriors requested transfer to human custody. They said they could not continue serving in a force that killed civilians. Others demanded to know why they had not been told the truth about our targets. Zixthara's 4 eyes focused on Commander Park, but the most terrifying response came from our younger warriors. They began asking questions about Velgaran history, about our previous conquests. What kind of questions? Commander Park asked. They wanted to know if we had committed similar crimes against other species. They asked if our entire empire was built on war crimes. They questioned whether the Velgaran way of war was honorable at all. The alien warrior's voice became barely audible. Wade had not just defeated our fleet. She had planted doubts about our entire civilization. She had turned our own warriors against everything they had been taught to believe. How did the retreat end? Dr. Norris asked. It did not end. It transformed. By the time we reached the edge of human space, nearly half our fleet had requested asylum with human forces. The remaining ships were carrying crews who no longer trusted their own leaders. Zixthara's 4 eyes closed. Wade sent one final message to our departing ships. She said humans would be monitoring Velgaran activities in the future. She said any further attacks on civilian populations would result in direct intervention. A threat, Commander Park said. No human. It was a promise. Wade made it clear that humans would not tolerate war crimes, regardless of who committed them or where they occurred. The alien's voice grew weaker, but the most chilling part of her message was the ending. Wade thanked us for our cooperation. In the educational program, she said the information gathered would be used to prevent future conflicts. Educational program? Dr. Norris asked. The lights in the medical bay had dimmed as evening approached. Dr. Norris could see exhaustion in Commander Park's face, but neither of them wanted to stop listening. Zixthara's story was almost finished, and they both sensed that the worst was yet to come. What happened when you returned home? Dr. Norris asked quietly. Zixthara's 4 eyes moved to look at him, and the fear in them was now mixed with something else. Shame. Our fleet arrived at the home system 3 days after leaving human space. We expected to be welcomed as survivors of a difficult campaign. Instead, we found human ships waiting for us. Commander Park leaned forward. Human ships in Velgaran space? 2 vessels. The Retribution, commanded by Captain Steve Logan, and the Justice, commanded by General Patricia Young. They were positioned at the edge of our system, making no attempt to hide their presence. 2 ships against your entire home fleet? Doctor Norris asked. That was what we thought at first. Our system defense forces numbered over 1,000 ships. Our orbital platforms could destroy entire fleets. We had every advantage. The alien warrior's breathing became shallow. General Young sent a message to our high command before we could even respond. She requested permission to enter our system for diplomatic talks. Diplomatic talks? Commander Park repeated. Young said she wanted to discuss the terms of Velgaran's surrender. She spoke as if our defeat was already decided, as if our massive fleet was no threat to her 2 ships. Zixthara's 4 eyes closed. The High Command was insulted. How dare? Humans demand our surrender in our own home system? They ordered our entire defense fleet to surround the human ships and prepare for battle. What did the humans do? Dr. Norris asked. Nothing. Young and Logan allowed themselves to be surrounded. They made no defensive moves, did not power their weapons, did not try to escape. They simply waited. The alien's voice grew weaker. Our fleet commanders demanded the humans surrender immediately. Young's response was to invite our leaders aboard her ship for negotiations. Your leaders went aboard a human ship? Commander Park asked. 3 members of the War Council agreed to the meeting. They thought it would be easy to dictate terms to 2 isolated human vessels. They brought heavy guards and expected to return. Quickly with human prisoners, Zixthara opened her 4 eyes. They never returned. What happened to them? Dr. Norris asked. Young presented them with evidence. Complete files on every Velgaran war crime committed during the human campaign. Video recordings of civilian massacres. Audio intercepts of orders to target non-military facilities. The alien warrior's voice cracked. But Young had more than evidence of recent crimes. She had compiled a history of Velgaran expansion over the past 1,000 years. Every conquest, every species we had destroyed, every planet we Had sterilized. How could she have that information? Commander Park asked. Young explained that humans had been investigating us long before we attacked their colonies. She said human intelligence services had been studying galactic powers for decades, gathering information about potential threats. Zixthara's breathing became rapid. The 3 War Council members were presented with a choice. They could stand trial for war crimes, or they could help Young implement what she called the accountability protocol. What was that? Dr. Norris asked. A complete restructuring of Velgaran society. Young had prepared detailed plans for transforming our military dictatorship into what she called a responsible democracy. The alien's 4 eyes focused on the ceiling. Young was not just demanding our surrender. She was demanding we change everything about how our civilization worked. That's impossible, Commander Park said. 2 ships can't force an entire empire to change its government. That is what our War Council members said. They reminded Young that she was vastly outnumbered, that our home system was impregnable, that humans had no authority over Velgaran. Internal affairs. Zixthara's voice became a whisper. Young's response was to show them what humans had been doing while we were fighting at the colonies. What do you mean? Dr. Norris asked. Young activated a holographic display that showed the positions of human ships throughout Velgaran space. Not just in our home system, but in every system under our control. The alien warrior's 4 eyes moved to look at Commander Park. There were thousands of human ships. They were positioned at every major population center, every military base, every industrial facility in our empire. That's impossible, Commander Park said. We don't have that many ships. That is what we thought too. But Young explained that humans had been infiltrating our space for months, using the intelligence gathered during our campaign to map our entire empire. Zixthara's breathing became uneven. Captain Logan had been leading these infiltration missions. His ship Retribution had been captured during one of our early engagements, but the capture had been deliberate. Deliberate? Dr. Norris asked. Logan had allowed his ship to be taken so that human intelligence teams could study our technology, learn our language, understand our culture. Every piece of information we thought we had gained from capturing his ship had actually been carefully prepared. The alien's voice grew stronger. While we were fighting at the colonies, Logan's teams had been using captured Velgaran ships to move freely through our empire. They looked like our own vessels, transmitted our identification codes, spoke our language perfectly. They were spying on your entire civilization, Commander Park said. More than spying. They were preparing for conquest. Every human infiltrator had been gathering detailed intelligence about Velgaran society, military capabilities, economic systems, political structures. Zixthara's 4 eyes closed. Young showed our War Council members the complete human intelligence file on our empire. They knew the location of every ship, every base, every leader. They had infiltrated our communication networks, our computer systems, our government databases. Total intelligence penetration, Dr. Norris said. Yes, but Young was not finished. She activated another display that showed the positions of what she called human liberation forces throughout the galaxy. The alien warrior's voice became barely audible. There were human ships in the territory of every species we had ever conquered. Young had been making contact with the survivors of our previous campaigns. The species you had defeated, Commander Park said. The species we thought we had defeated. Young showed us recordings of these species, alive and waiting for their chance at revenge. Humans had been organizing them, training them, preparing them for a coordinated uprising. Zixthara opened her 4 eyes. Young told our War Council members that the campaign against human colonies had been a test. Humans had been evaluating Velgaran military capabilities, studying our tactics, learning our weaknesses. The entire war was a setup, Dr. Norris said. Everything was planned. Every human sacrifice, every apparent defeat, every piece of intelligence we thought we had gained. Young said humans had been preparing for this confrontation for years. The aliens' breathing became rapid, but the most terrifying revelation was still to come. Young explained that Velgaran space was not the only target. Human forces were simultaneously confronting every aggressive empire in the galaxy. Multiple operations, Commander Park said. Young called it the Galactic Peace Initiative. Humans had identified every species that posed a threat to civilian populations and were implementing what she called corrective measures against all of them. Simultaneously, Zixthara's voice cracked. Our War Council members realized that we were not facing a human response to our aggression. We were facing a coordinated effort to reshape galactic civilization according to human values. What choice did they give your leaders? Dr. Norris asked. Transformation or elimination? Young made it clear that Velgaran society could continue to exist, but only if we abandoned our military expansion and adopted human standards for the treatment of other species. The alien warrior's 4 eyes focused on Commander Park. Our leaders asked what would happen if we refused. Young's answer was simple. She said humans had the capability to sterilize every Velgaran world simultaneously. Could they really do that? Commander Park asked. Young provided technical specifications for human weapon systems that were far beyond anything we had encountered. During our campaign, she showed our leaders the locations of human ships throughout our empire, each one capable of destroying entire planets. Zixthara's voice became a whisper. But Young said humans preferred not to destroy civilizations. She said they would rather transform them into allies who shared human values about the protection of civilian populations. What did your leaders decide? Dr. Norris asked. They accepted Young's terms. The Velgaran Empire agreed to immediate ceasefire with all species, withdrawal from all occupied territories, and implementation of democratic reforms under human supervision. The alien warriors' 4 eyes closed. Young thanked them for their cooperation. She said the peaceful transition would serve as an example for other aggressive species who are receiving similar offers from human forces. What happened to you? Commander Park asked gently. I was assigned to the new Velgaran Peace Corps, working with human advisors to help rebuild the societies we had damaged. That is how I came to be here when the accident happened.